Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center, man. I know, man, I haven't been consistent on this channel at all, and I promise y'all I'm getting back to it. Just be patient with me. This is something that's been on my mind lately, and just even watching the game from last night, the Commanders versus the Buccaneers, and just looking at Jaden Daniels perform was like a work of art, especially from a rookie quarterback. You know how he was just so well composed, and it's like the moment wasn't too big for him. Like I remember even seeing him on the sideline, kind of just laughing. And at that point, they hadn't won the game. I think it might have been tied up at the point, but just to have the wherewithal to, be in this tight situation, win or go home. And if he missed this, we going into overtime. Who knows if we don't get the opening, if we don't win the toss and we put our defense on the field, they might drop down the field to beat us. So to be able to silence all of that and just kind of, in a sense, live in the moment, that speaks volumes to him as a player. Now, what we're going to get into, like I was talking to my dad last night, and we were just talking about like kind of the difference between Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. And I was like, the thing about that for me, I feel like with Caleb Williams' style of play, it didn't necessarily translate over to the NFL. Like when you look at Caleb Williams at USC, it kind of was like what my good buddy always say, and it was kind of was like sandlot football, to where it's like, okay, you just run around and make something happen out of nothing, But when you get to the NFL, guys are much faster, guys are much stronger, guys are much smarter. The IQ for the game goes up. So the things that you was able to do in college and get away with, you're not able to do, because you got to think about it. Let's just say, for instance, if you USC and you going up against UCLA, you might got one guy on that defense that's going, maybe two, that's going to the NFL. Everybody else is what? Maybe probably going to go to the XFL, or some people might go overseas, and some people might just get into whatever it is that they're doing in life. So it's not like you're going up against high level athletes on a week-to-week basis. Now, when you get to NFL, it's a different ball game because everybody's a professional. The exact reason why you're there, they're there. You know what I mean? Because you stood out you was a man amongst boys in a sense. So and it made me get to thinking about the whole, rookie quarterback situation. So like I say, you look at Bryce Young, you look at how early on this year he was benched because they were saying he wasn't producing, and you look at how quickly an organization, prime example too, with the Bears, with Justin Fields, you know what I mean? You look at how quickly an organization turns their back on these guys when they deem these guys once a savior. And I think that that's the problem. So it's like when you think about top picks, man, look at, Trevor Lawrence. You got some guys that are fortunate to come into a pretty decent situation. Like you look at when Jameis Winston took over with Tampa Bay, he came into a pretty decent situation. You look at even Jaden Daniels with him coming into a rebuilding Commander, so he came into a pretty decent situation. Joe Burrow coming into Cincinnati, he came into a pretty decent situation. I'm talking about top picks, like guys that just, was like the top 5 picks, you know what I mean? So you got to think, in order to have a pick that high, what does that tell you? If you know anything about football, NFL, that you probably had one of the sorriest teams in the NFL that year. You know what I mean? The previous year, unless you just somehow got lucky with a trade and you got top picks, but who's giving away number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 picks? And not a lot of people who's doing that, because they can be the future of an organization. So when you get to that point in terms of being that bad to where you get a top pick and you got a guy that's coming out of college, you know what I mean? A guy who has to still be developed in a lot of ways because they're raw. Let's just be honest. How many guys that we know in high school that's out there dominating based off athleticism, no IQ involved? That transitions to college. How many guys are out there doing it? Now, the gap catches up to these guys when they get to the NFL, and athleticism isn't the only thing that, that a lot of these guys have. Because when you get there, these guys are equally athletic or more athletic than you. So what sets you apart? What made Brady so good wasn't Brady's physical attributes. It wasn't Brady's running. It wasn't Brady's throwing power. It was the IQ, the way he approached the game, how militant he was with his preparation to be able to go out and dominate these guys who played within habits. But to think, a lot of times you still have to be developed into that. Look at Patrick Mahomes. I always tell people, let's lose Patrick Mahomes as an analogy. Let's just say if Patrick Mahomes didn't go to Kansas City and he went to a different team and he wouldn't have been under Andy Reid and his coaching staff there, would he been the same? Because the development was a lot different. I seen the interview where Mahomes was saying that, I believe he might have been like 2 or 3 years into the NFL at that point. He was saying that prior season, he was just starting to understand plays, like defensive plays, to be able to identify them. Like, I think he knew what a cover 1 is, a cover 2, a cover 3 for the most part. But sometimes, especially in the NFL, because a lot of defenses disguise it, it's kind of hard to be able to identify what it is, but that comes with the development. You know, like these guys don't just come from college and then come to the NFL and then all of a sudden now they just automatically catch on and they know exactly what to do. It has to be a developmental process. You have to take the time to work with them, to get to study film and say, hey man, we have to get better at this. But then you also have to know the situation. If we know that we don't have the best offensive line, why are we expecting our quarterback to come in and work miracles? If we know we don't have the best wide receivers, why are we expecting our quarterback to come in and to work miracles? If we know that we don't possibly have the best offensive coordinator and the best position coaches to further develop this guy, why are we putting him, why are we expecting that? So once we got these preparations in line and we got an actual system and they can funnel through and we develop them, now that's different. But to just assume that you're going to take a tanking organization and take a top pick and all of a sudden everything is going to be scotch-free and now you're a contender, that's just not the way the world works, man. Because if you got a good quarterback, what if the defense isn't helping him out? What if the defense can't stop the other team from scoring? And he, you know what I mean? Like, it's nothing he can do about that. Now it puts pressure on him to try to combat and keep up. And that's how you make mistakes. So it takes somebody to sit there and tell him, hey, bro, don't worry about the scoreboard. Let's worry about each possession, because at the end of the day, we can't get it all back in one. So we have to take it drive by drive, play by play. And if we do that consistently, eventually we'll chip at the deficit. But it comes into developmental. But we put these guys in these positions, and when they don't thrive, now we quick throw them to the side, and now we're going to go get a whole nother draft pick and just assume that he's going to be able to do so until you just get lucky enough to get that one that is able to come in like a Jaden Daniels. But like I say, once again, the situation, look, he's under one of the best coaches, Dan Quinn. And then I forgot who Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator, Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco was talking about, and how he has a lot of Heisman Trophy quarterbacks that was under him. You see what I'm saying? So it's the developmental process. Caleb Williams don't have that option. You see what I'm saying? Bryce Young don't have that option. You know what I mean? And to a degree, Trevor Lawrence don't have that option. So to expect those things automatically, it baffles me. So it's like, another thing too is that we tend to overlook one specific thing when it comes to success. Look at the Patriots, look at the Chiefs, look at the Colts, the years with Manning, look at when he was with the Broncos, look at the Seahawks, look at any team that's had success over the course of years. And you ask, why is that? I'm gonna tell you why. It was a process. It was a process. When you look at, use Seattle for an example. Look at when they put together that team. They went in one draft, they got Earl Thomas out of one draft. They went into another draft, they got Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor out the next year's draft. They went and signed Brandon Browner coming from the Canadian Football League. So it was a process. And even when they got those pieces, it wasn't Super Bowls right away. You still had to, be able to build that camaraderie and once again help these guys develop and make sure that we're all on the same page. So it took time. Brady didn't come in and win right away. Michael Jordan didn't come in and win right away. LeBron James didn't come in and win right away. I'm not saying he wasn't good. I'm saying as a team, a championship, it didn't happen right away. And, in immense results within that franchise. Like I say, individually, he might have came in and had an impact on the game. But I'm talking about collectively as a whole, it didn't happen. It takes time. The Spurs, the Lakers, whoever, it takes time to develop that. You know what I mean? So we become so conditioned to want automatic results to where if we don't get it within 2 years, we're done with this guy. And this guy's 22 years old and still got plenty of time to develop and plenty of time to be, to see if you can bring what you think he has in him out of him. Now, granted, everybody don't have it. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say waste your years, 4 or 5 years with a guy and he's not improving. But if you're seeing the improvement little by little and the situation, you have to be understanding and you have to kind of be patient. Now, if they don't give you that time as a head coach to say, man, if it don't work out, you gone. I mean, that just is what it is. How many of them have lost their jobs? Not just because they was horrible coaches, just because of the situation that they took on. And they knowing all this going into it, But I ain't going to get too long-winded on that, man. I kind of wanted to just briefly touch on that. And then, like I said, I think I'm going to end up doing another video where I kind of go into detail and deep dive. Because, that's been happened over the course of our game that we love so much, that these instant results was things. Now, I will say, too, and I know, like I said, I be getting long-winded sometimes. Now, if you look at back in the day, look at Brady. He sat behind Bledsoe. Look at Rodgers. He sat behind Favre. Look at a lot of these guys back in the day. They sat behind somebody. So it was time for them to develop before they came into their own. I'm pretty sure it was many more. I just can't think of other time, or I just didn't do the research to know that it was, but I'm pretty sure it was. You know what I mean? So the time, and that was even what Brady was saying when he was saying that it's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL, because he said one of the things he brought up is the same thing I'm saying now. He don't think that the development of the young players is as good as it once was. You know what I mean? It's like if they're not hot right away, if they're not successful right away, we toss them to the side and say on to the next. You know what I mean? So like I said, that goes with coaching. And coaching is a very vital part in a player's development, whether we choose to acknowledge that or not. But like I said, man, I don't get too long with it. I just kind of wanted to briefly touch on that, man. But if you did enjoy this video, by the way, I got more videos coming up, NFL and high school level. Like I said, I know I've been off a little bit. Some things behind the scenes been going on, but I'm not going to use this time that you guys are giving me to complain about that. We just going to have to work through it, and, everything else going to handle itself. But, man, if you did enjoy this video, man, do me a big, big favor, man. And if this is your first time running across my channel and you like sports content, especially football and boxing, because that's what I more so specialize in, high school, NFL, and then I'm getting more in college with it as well. And I want to get into the amateurs and pros with boxing, man. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. When you hit that subscribe button, man, make sure you click that post notification bell where you be notified every time I upload, man, because I got these videos coming back to back. And I'll see y'all in the next video. I'm out this thing. Peace.